Welcome to the Performer Podcast. Stay tuned for practical tips, strategies, and interviews that will help you get one step closer to that performing career dream of yours. Hosted by me, Michelle Thole, success and performance coach for performers, a proud Hufflepuff, bopper, and a theme park lover. So here we go, on with the show. Hi everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Michelle and I'm joined by the most amazing person I know. This is Patrick Steed.
Hello.
Hi, Patrick. We're going to be drinking on this. I'll be drinking lemonade, but Patrick's got a lovely glass of wine. So the reason I've invited Patrick along is because I know Patrick has got the most amazing story to tell about his performing career and also how he can help you in getting the best from auditioning, from casting, also if you're writing. So Patrick's background is as a composer. So he has written 2 of his own musicals, and he's also a champion of excellence for a wonderful company that I'm also a part of, which is Inspire Me. And anything else you want to add about your intro? You are a proud Gryffindor, aren't you, Patrick?
Yes, big Harry Potter fan.
And also you are a composer in residence for Hello Cabaret. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about Hello Cabaret?
Yeah, it's an amazing musical theatre cabaret night, kind of what it says on the tin, based in Wales. So I'm resident composer, and for every night that's held at the Wales Melon Centre in Cardiff, I write a brand new song to be showcased and premiered, which is wonderful. The whole thing is led by a wonderful guy called Dan, and you kind of have loads of musical theatre performers performing all these amazing songs throughout the night, and it's wonderful to be just like a little bit part of that. It's fantastic.
That sounds amazing. So can you tell the listener how you started in your career in performing?
Yeah, so I've always loved music. Music's always been a real passion of mine, and did a music degree at Cardiff University. And then I kind of lost my way a little bit, as you kind of often do after university. It's, who am I? You know, what am I doing? You kind of end up in a job. You end up in a job that you kind of go, this isn't where I'm supposed to be in life. And then I had a bit of a lucky break. I remember being sat in a contact centre and thinking, I wish I had more of a job to do with singing and harmonies and choirs, but that job doesn't exist in this world. And luckily it turns out it does, and I became part of an amazing company called Sing and Inspired that does lots of motivational choirs and businesses and team building, and that was the starting point for Inspire Me, which I'm still a part of now. And also that's kind of how we met. So I've got loads of things to be thankful for.
So Patrick is the champion of excellence at and Inspire Me. So can you talk to us a bit more about what a champion of excellence is?
Yeah, so I kind of came up with the title a little bit myself just because I wanted it to sound a little bit like a superhero. I think when you kind of give them permission to kind of choose your own job title, you've got to go a bit crazy with it, haven't you? The only thing is it doesn't work when you're kind of renewing your car insurance and they try and put you in a little bit of a box, and I kind of go, I guess I'm kind of like this, or kind of like this, or kind of like this. So it's basically responsible for the amazing kind of quality at the company. So I've got a background in the choirs and the arranging of music, in running of events, working with the team. So I've got to a point now where it's about making sure that continues to run in the way it does.
That sounds great. I mean, like I say, I've been involved with the company, and it's such a great company to work for. But also, Patrick, you trained me. You trained me to be a choir motivator, which is fantastic. And it brings a lot of power and inspiration to other people's lives, which I didn't think, to be honest, I was going to feel that way about it, because I've been involved in singing for such a long time, but loved singing just as a singer, whereas actually being a conductor of a choir, I don't know, it's just something magical about it.
It's a very different feeling, isn't it? You start to kind of channel energy, which you do to some extent as a singer as well. It's just a different type of energy. One is about, giving your energy to people and giving a convincing performance and having people kind of buy into that. And the other is about inspiring people to then give their best performance. So, yeah, very, very interesting dynamic there.
Definitely. I think that's a dynamic that's used quite a lot within any type of performing, isn't it? Whether you're giving the energy or receiving it from others, it's always going to be that giving and receiving process.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of miss our weekly kind of choir sessions down in London, and
Definitely.
we always had a good time, didn't we? And always have a catch up in Cafe Nero afterwards. So.
A good old cheesecake and a what did I used to have? A chai latte. There we are. Yeah. So I want to get down to the nitty gritty of you being a composer, because the people who are watching, people who are listening right now, they may want to create their own songs, and I want to know, what is it? What do you draw inspiration from when you're creating your masterpieces? And is there anything unusual, or how can you explain a bit more about the process?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, I think that the process is different for every single person, and also new ways of doing things can be explored, and that can be really, really exciting as well. So I mean, my background was originally writing pop music, and I know you've got a lot of experience in writing pop music as well, Shah. And the vibe of that is very kind of very open. The song will always be about something, and you'll approach it from an angle, but what I found is that with pop music particularly, you can write a song that might have a very specific memory to you if you're kind of drawing on inspiration from something that's happened, and someone will listen to it and say, "Oh my word, it's like you were speaking about this experience that I had," and they'll say the experience, and you kind of go, "Really, you got that from this?" But it's nice that people draw their own kind of emotions into it. With the musical theatre element, that does happen to some extent, but it's much more, you have a character, you have a setting, you have a place where someone is at the start of the song, maybe a place they are at the end of the song, a journey that they kind of go through. So it's a very kind of different experience. And I'm still on a learning journey with it. I'm kind of learning all the time with it. And I think the thing I'm learning more is how to kind of navigate your way from the start to the end with that. It seems like a very, very different kind of journey.
It sounds very similar to songwriting when you're getting paid to songwrite, but also the difference between being paid and doing it for fun, for your own, like I say, you draw it from your own experience. And that's not to say you can't draw from your own experience when you're getting paid, but there is a difference. There's a different dynamic that comes to that songwriting. And do you find there's a difference there, or am I literally just making that up?
No, I think there is a difference, and it's weird in some ways. It feels like there's a very specific form and a very specific structure. I say that to musical theatre songs. Pop songs, you have your classic verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Sometimes you've got a pre-chorus, all those kind of things. That's got its own kind of structure as well. So I guess it's just kind of in learning a different structure of writing things. But I think the most successful ones you kind of look at and go, oh, this is the composer's intention for the first bit, and then the second bit, and then you add that to that bit, and that's it. It kind of grows. So yeah, is that making sense? I know I'm kind of speaking in lots of metaphors.
No, you're not. It makes complete sense, and I think from a songwriting background myself, I find that, and from a pop songwriting background, I feel that there's maybe I'm selling myself short here, but I feel as if you know so much more about songwriting than I do from a pop background. It was literally just, this is the format, go and do your thing. Whereas I feel like there's a lot more little kind of nuances that you use, like the way that you would use syncopation or like alliteration and the way you word it. So can you explain a little bit more in detail? Get a bit geeky with us, Patrick. Geeky. I love it.
Oh, there's risk of me getting too geeky.
Oh God.
So I guess it's one of the things where the more you dive down this rabbit hole of songwriting, the more tools and techniques you kind of discover along the way. So sometimes it's about listening to a musical and thinking, oh my word, this composer's a genius. listen at how beautiful that sounds and how they've used those lyrics and those rhymes and, what they're doing with the melody and the harmony at those points. And as I've kind of evolved through writing, I remember when I first started musical, I didn't have a clue how to write a musical when I first started. I remember I started writing Stalking John Barrowman, which was my first one. And I just started writing music, and gradually it just kind of started to evolve into a musical. And the more I explored it, the more I understood the harmonies I needed for that. Or I suddenly want to write a really jazzy song for the musical. I had to kind of really dig deep into what it meant to explore jazz, and just my knowledge of kind of chords, and then the accompaniment that kind of goes with it, and how it all kind of fits together. It just kind of evolves. And I'm part of a course at the moment called BML, which has been absolutely amazing. And you get feedback every 3 weeks on the music that you're writing. And that's been such a learning curve as well for growth. It's been really fascinating.
Patrick, just for everybody that's listening, what is BML?
So BML stands for Book, Music and Lyrics. Mm-hmm. So it's this incredible course based in London, which for anyone who is even thinking about the possibility that maybe one day they might want to write a musical, I say get involved. It's one of the best things I've ever done, being part of this course. And you can join it either as a composer, or you can join it as a lyricist, or you can join it as a book writer. So doing all the kind of the script and the story. So I joined it as a composer. I worked with an amazing lyricist called Mike. Every week we create new music together. And there's kind of a set formula where you kind of end up writing all the different types of songs that you need to write in every type of show that you might need to write it in. So by the time you kind of get to your third year, you kind of got all the tools under your belt then.
It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing about it is you have industry professionals, like some of my heroes, my musical theatre composing heroes. Every now and then they just rock up to a session and suddenly you're playing your song in front of them and you're thinking, you're going to like it, you're not going to like it. So let's, that extra pressure.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Number one, who are your musical heroes in the musical theatre world?
So I've got quite a lot. If we're kind of thinking over in America, I love Alan Menken, who's written all the Disney music. I love Stephen Sondheim, who's obviously a big icon of American musical theatre. I love Jason Robert Brown, which a lot of the really big musical theatre fans will be used to singing and knowing all the music too. And over in the UK, I'm a really big fan of Stiles and Drew, who are probably most famous for reinventing Mary Poppins as a stage show. So obviously they didn't write all the songs from the 1960s film, but they've written all the extra music for it. They've written things like Honk and Just So and Soho Cinders. And I was in one of the musicals in Cardiff, and suddenly they appear at my course at BML and are giving you feedback on your songs, which is... So
that's what I want to talk about next. I want to talk about the nerves that you feel as a performer when you're performing one of your songs that you've just written, and somebody as prestigious as... Who are we going to choose out of thin air?
Let's go with Stiles and Drew.
Okay, so Stiles and Drew turn up, and all of a sudden you're there playing your song. How do you get over that? What techniques do you use, if any? How do you show up and give the best performance possible?
So I think it's really interesting when it comes to things like stage fright, when it comes to auditions, when it comes to pitching or doing any of these things. And something I've learned, I don't know, probably over the past 10 years, and I'm still learning, is that you can be so confident in one area of your life, and all it takes is for something to be like slightly different, and it's very easy to lose your way. So, through, for example, the work that we've done together with Sing and Inspire and Inspire Me, often we're on a stage in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, getting them singing, being a leader. Okay, that is me in my comfort zone, put me in front of 400 people, give me a microphone, I'll start telling jokes, everyone will laugh, everyone will relax, everyone starts singing. Put me in front of 3 people and...
why is it a smaller number? It's always weird, isn't it?
It's super intense. And put me in a situation where I'm not there every single day. And suddenly it's so easy for your mind to start kind of running away and kind of get nervous. So I think there's lots of things you can do in order to relax a little bit. And I say that in terms of, I've been on a bit of a journey with it over the past kind of couple of years. There's been a few performance times and a few times in my course where I've started to get a bit nervous, and sometimes even so nervous that I haven't even been able to play. However, thinking of the times when, Styles and Drew have been there, I've kind of conquered it by the time they come. So you've got to kind of push through that so that you get those experiences, so that by the time, you're auditioning in front of your heroes, that you can stay strong.
So is the main crux of that just feel the fear and do it anyway?
I think it's feel the fear and do it anyway. And I think it's really learn from every experience that you have. So I'm going to get a bit vulnerable with you, Sharon.
Oh, I love this. I'm the vulnerability queen. You go for it.
Yeah, I thought. Well,
you're going to drink a little bit of red wine.
Yeah,
We'll have a little bit of a drinking interlude, by the way. Hang on a second.
Yeah. This always happens when we chat, doesn't it? We can't just kind of stay surface level. We always have to kind of, get ready. So the story I'm going to say happened to me last year, and it was part of my course. Okay, and I play the piano for kind of quite a long time. However, part of my day job at the moment isn't really involved. So I was in a situation where I can still play the piano, but it's not something that I'm playing every single day, and I'm composing on it, but not actually playing. And the way things have worked out with this session on a course is I'd left writing this song that I needed to present until the night before. I think I stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Were you doing that thing that you do as a teenager where you leave your homework to the very last minute?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, okay. I need to take ownership of I should have started a bit sooner. But the way it works out with the course is sometimes you had 5 weeks to write a song, and sometimes you had 1 week to write a song. So at that point, there was only so much I could do. So wrote it the night before. Didn't have a chance to practice the piano. I'd kind of written the piano and typed it all up, but hadn't actually, checked it through and made sure I can play it. On the way down to London, me and my lyricist were kind of going back and forth, and there were lyric changes, and I was typing that up on the bus. And then with a set of circumstances where we should have been able to get there and rehearse, the room was double booked, and we ended up being.
I can feel my anxiety racing.
Yeah, I know. And the mind was kind of going, and also just to heighten the pressure in this session, the guest kind of professional was a personal friend of Stephen Sondheim, who's one of my heroes. Okay? It wasn't Stephen Sondheim, but it was a friend that does a lot of his work over here. So I was feeling that pressure, and it's one of the things where I kind of thought, I'm about to play and sing at the same time a song where the words have changed so many times I'm not really sure what the words are. I haven't really got this under my fingers yet, so I'm just trying to kind of blag it. We were the last song in the session, so we saw 2 other ones go beforehand, which were both amazing. And when the feedback kind of came from those ones, they said things that made us go, oh no, we've done that in our song. And they've said, don't ever do that in a song.
Oh no!
And then I had to suddenly get up there and play. And I froze. I got in front of this piano, and I've been playing the piano since I was 6. And I was there, and the music was a blur. And I just stopped and said, I'm so sorry, I don't think I can do this. I can't play the piano. And, luckily, one of the course leaders sensed I was feeling a bit anxious. He goes, well, how about if I kind of sight read the piano part, would you be happy to sing? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So we got through it that way. And the song was fairly well received. So that was good. And it was weird because, like I said, I'm used to being in front of 500 people and I can just do that. I haven't got to think about it. I haven't got to prepare. I've done it so many times. I can get on stage and I'm ready to go. And what I realized was I hadn't had that build up with this. I was just expecting I could go in and I could just do it. And what I needed to allow myself was say, this is still a new experience for you to be showcasing your music, to be playing the piano and singing at the same time, which I'd done with some kind of basic chords, but I never had to do a proper kind of complicated piano part while singing at the same time. In this kind of pressurized environment where you know that people are going to give feedback straight afterwards. And from that point, I kind of said, you need to give yourself the best opportunity you can to succeed with this. So then I got to a point where I needed to make sure that I finished a song with enough time to practice it and rehearse it, and not put so much of a pressure on myself as well.
Yeah, because what I'm also hearing is that sometimes the biggest failure sets you up for the success in which is coming. Yeah. Because had you not had that experience, then that experience wouldn't have fueled the motivation to put all the steps in place, to plan the amount of time necessary, and to practice with looking at the singing and playing at the same time. And in a way, failure, although everyone doesn't want to fail, if it's a new experience, you're going to fail at some point. And actually, it's in the failing do you actually learn the lesson. Because if you've just succeeded, try and say that 10 times, actually, you're just building on success. Whereas with failure, you definitely know what path not to take. And so I think that was a really great example of how that failure, in a sense, that vulnerability has skyrocketed your inspiration and the way that you now have I don't want to say more respect, because I know that you really respect what you were doing, but in a way you've given yourself enough time now.
And you've completely landed on the crux of it. It's all to do with how you respond in moments of success and moments in failure, and how you respond in the moments of failure are what makes you. And obviously, it's so wonderful when someone pays you a compliment and says they like what you do and you feel like you've done a good job. That is great. It doesn't teach you anything.
It doesn't.
You just go, oh, cool, great, good.
Thanks. I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing.
And you need those moments, otherwise you just end up, hitting your head against a wall. And it's. But the thing is when you have that moment of failure, or you something isn't successful as you thought it would be, or particularly when everything goes wrong, like when the floor drops from beneath your feet and you just fall, that is when you learn the most. And it's so important in that moment to go, right, why has this happened and what's the lesson I need to learn? And actually sometimes the lesson that you think you need to learn isn't the one that you need to learn. It's
completely the opposite. I've actually reminded myself of a situation that I think I've tried to bury down quite deep. When I professional singing, and then I went into doing backing vocals, and I went into a recording studio, and I honestly, very much like you said, actually, Patrick, you take the confidence that you've built up as a singer. For you, it was working in Inspire Me as a choir motivator. And you just assume that confidence is going to see you through in a new skill. Whereas, okay, you're still singing, but backing singing has a different nuance about it. It has a different way of being. And so I was given the sheet music and I was stood in front of the microphone ready to do a take for backing vocals for a song. Stuff that I'd already practiced, but I couldn't find the pitch. And there was just something in me. It was because what happened was I just knew at it, and I had to experience the fact that this is what it takes to be good at it. I need to be rubbish sometimes and then get better, and then rubbish again, and then rubbish, and then better and better. So it just reminds me of that. I think I haven't thought about that for like the last 10 years, and it's just popped into my head. So, but it's the perfect, just like your example is the perfect example that vulnerability can actually be the stepping stone to confidence and to success. It has to be, and you have to have the courage in order to take the next step. Because when you've come back from a fall, it's like, oh, wow, from that failure feeling, it takes a lot of courage, doesn't it? And a lot of determination. And you've got to have a lot of passion in order to move forward.
And I think it's really interesting that the passion is really important, and also disconnecting yourself from the passion is important. Does that sound weird, or does that make sense?
I think I get it, but why don't you explain a little bit about the disconnection from passion? Because I think I get the passion bit. So
passion, obviously, if you didn't feel passionate for something, you'd just stop doing it, wouldn't you? You've got to have that passion, that determination, that motivation to kind of keep going, keep getting better, all those kind of things. However, if you've just got too much of that and it ties in with your ego and your self-doubt and all that kind of stuff, it can be very destructive. So, for example, with songwriting, you can't let one person's opinion of your song kind of dictates how you feel or what it means for you as an individual and all those things. It's so easy. And I used to do it all the time. My self-worth used to be completely wrapped up in what I created. So if someone hated something that I'd written, they didn't just hate that song, they hated me. And, it became, really, really personal. And what I've learned is that you need an element of disconnection, in order to really listen to people and really listen to yourself and move forward. Can I give you a little technique that might be useful for some people watching this as well?
Please, go ahead. I absolutely love techniques and tools, and anything you can give, go for it.
So this is to do with getting feedback. So,
okay.
I've received feedback in my course, in work, in auditions, in loads of kind of different situations from audiences, watching things that I've created. And what you end up with all these different opinions, and it can be really, really confusing, it can be really, really overwhelming. And you can kind of go, well, what do I do now? And amongst that, there's also an element of, if people are saying things that are negative towards you, it's so hard to not let that just kind of cloud everything. And also you're tempted to kind of fight back a little bit, that wasn't very good. Oh yeah, well it is, because, so what I do is, when I'm in situations of getting feedback, I imagine I've got a sieve, like when you get rid of your boiling water from
your vegetables, yeah.
And all of the comments just go straight in the sieve, right? And I thank people for these comments. So whether they're positive, whether they're negative, particularly if they're positive, they still go in the sieve. I say thank you. I don't. So hang on,
this is a mental exercise. Yeah, you're imagining a sieve.
Yeah, not a physical sieve.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The sieve is there with me in the moment, in this metaphorical sieve. So everything just kind of goes in that. So I just thank people. I'm very emotionless in that moment. I'm not taking it in. Here, it's all going in the sieve, right? And later, I go back to the sieve and I give it a little bit of a shake. And naturally, some of those comments just kind of fall through the sieve and go down the drain, and they don't really stick. However, there'll be some that stay in the sieve. And that's the bit, if I talk about songwriting, where I go, do you know what? I can do better with that line. That does need to change. And I might not have realised it before, and I might not have listened if I if I'd in that moment try to analyze it and work out whether it was true or not. And similarly, there's other comments which it's just one person's opinion in a moment, and it might be different if it was a different singer, or if it was a different setting, or if they'd have a different breakfast that morning. It's so hard to kind of work out how these opinions fit. But yeah, I just everything was said, give it a little shake, and then just see afterwards, in a moment of calm, when you're not in the pressure of there being people around you, what do I actually need to do to get better?
I love that. I absolutely love that. And it's really interesting that you said to analyze it in a moment of calm, because when you're in that, you just got off stage, or, you're waiting for the feedback. If you sat there, the show's just happened. We said earlier about energy and whether you're giving energy or taking energy, and you're in that receiving of energy mode. And when you're there, it can get connected to, like you say, the ego and all these other negative or positive things, because if people are just saying positive things to you, and having this sieve metaphor in this moment of calm, well, it's also connected to something that I did as a coach, which is if you just say something that is a statement, which is, because opinion is just a person's opinion of how they see the world. Whereas if somebody says to you, I think you should change the third line to, duck instead of, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said the duck. We'll change it. Baby to child, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I knew there might have been a swear word coming up anytime soon. Just go with it. And then what happens is, in a moment of clarity, in that calmness afterwards, when the waves have settled, you can think to yourself, what truth is staying behind? What is in the sieve? Because you usually find it's the things that stick are the things that you probably feel some kind of truth with. And then it's from that point that you can then make the conscious decision whether you change that or not. So then the decision is yours, because you still might like to say baby instead of child. But do you see what I mean? In that example, you then get to choose. Actually, I'm going to consider it and then choose what I want to do with it. So I love that, because you're right. Not everybody's opinion is also equal. That's what I believe as well. Not everyone's opinion is equal. And so it's about having that calm and understanding which person do I want to listen to, or like which one is sticking, what's left in the sieve. Let's just look at it that way.
And it works with the positive as well. It's easy to get inflated if people are just giving you praise and praise all the time. So it's good to kind of just, oh, thank you so much, just
on a really
just go, yeah, they did really mean that, or maybe they were just saying that because they wanted this, or you've got to kind of just kind of give yourself a bit of protection, and it's in two parts, being completely open and also being completely guarded. You've kind of got the power to let things in at the right time that need to come in at the right time, and really analyze them.
It reminded me of, like, when I'm looking at a hotel on TripAdvisor, I never look at the 5-star or the 1-star. I always look at the 3-star.
Right.
Because it's given a bad, it's kind of like saying a bit of the bad and a bit of the good, but it's not overinflating anything. So it kind of sticks more. So I guess the 3s are going to be in the sieve for me. Yeah. Anyway, that's how I see it. I'll always look at the 3s. So we're coming to the end, Patrick. So I know. I love talking to you. I want to quickly just touch on casting, because I know that you've cast for your musical theatres, your musical productions in the past. Mm-hmm. You have, like I say, you've cast for Hello Cabaret, and also for, was it obviously Blink, which is your musical from 2016, 2017.
Yeah, still under construction.
Yes. And I just want you to talk about, because obviously you've spoken about being a performer, but what are you looking for as a casting director when a person comes in and, are singing their hearts out and doing a scene? How does it feel to be on the other side of the table?
I really enjoy being in that situation, partly because it's very relaxing, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity to have meet loads of new people, come in, sing all these amazing songs. So I really, really enjoy it. And it's really interesting to see the difference between people who absolutely nail it and people who don't. And from my perspective, the will is always there for them to do really, really well. And I'm kind of excited and I'm anticipating, their performance. I think the main thing for me actually isn't in the moment of the performance itself. It's what comes before it and what comes after it. It's been amazing how many times people have walked in with kind of just no personality at all, and then the moment comes to sing and they just kind of switch it on, they light it up and they give this amazing performance, and then suddenly the moment it finishes they just kind of completely switch off, and you think, I'm not just thinking about this from a position of a show. I'm thinking about this as a position of working with these people on a regular basis. I'm thinking about what does it mean for them to be in a cast, how well can they work with other people, all these kind of things. And for me, that is a massive thing. I've got to like and get on with someone who walks in the door. And actually, a lot of it comes from before people walk in the door as well. Because, reputation is everything. And if, someone's got a bad reputation, they were difficult to work with, people know, and it kind of gets round, and suddenly they can give an absolutely amazing performance, and you just think, yeah, but is it worth it? Is it worth the pain and the anguish it might cause? And then from an actual performance perspective, I think one of the most important things for me is being completely present with a performance. So you've got to be in that moment. And when that happens, it's the most magical thing in the world. It's just because you're suddenly not watching an actor who is singing a song. You're watching this character in this moment, and there's something very, very transformational about that, both for them and as you as an audience member or as someone who's on a panel. We want to be transported to this other world and have a snapshot of someone's life. So if you can really pull someone into that moment with you, that's the magic.
So it's again really interesting you say that, because the one thing I notice when I'm helping performers with their castings, with their auditions, is the moment of presence. When that moment turns up, when that person isn't in their head any longer, oh, I'm really scared, I wonder what they think about me. They are just, I'm here to do a job, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to sing my heart out as the character, transport the casting panel to this amazing destination, whichever it is, wherever it is, with the emotion of the song. I'm going to tell the story. It never ever becomes about them anymore and their fear. It becomes about singing the song and being completely present in their talent and in the beauty of whatever manifests at that time. And it's in that moment of that switching into that, I'm here, this is my moment, that, like you say, the magic happens. And I see it constantly. And I think you have to just get rid of the mental stuff and just
everything is the mental stuff, isn't it? You've got lots of work to do there, Shell, because there's lots of people that really, really struggle with that. And so much of what happens in here is it just transcends into everything, doesn't it?
Massively.
If you can kind of conquer your brain, or not so much conquer, but just calm it down,
calm it, and learn to, like you did before, learn to be vulnerable enough to say, okay, I'm afraid, but I'm gonna just sing the song to the best of my ability, and I'm here to give a performance and so just imagine the casting panel as being the audience, and you want them to leave as happy as possible, and your job is to make them happy. It isn't to be scared. And as soon as you change that focus, then the performance comes out. and it isn't shifting the focus from fear into a giving and abundant mindset of sharing your talent and just being a gift to the world, and I love doing that. It's one of my things. I just love it. Oh gosh, I got so many more questions, Patrick, like many more.
Maybe at some point in time we'll do a part 2, do you reckon, Shal?
Yeah. So my last question is going to be for you. What's the greatest lesson you've learned so far? So you could open this up if you like. It can be to performing or it could be in your life. What is your greatest lesson you've learned?
What is my greatest lesson I've learned? Okay. I've learned quite a few. So some of those I'll share in the part 2.
Yes.
However, the one I'm going to say had such a profound impact on me, and happened quite a while ago. So I've had real time to kind of digest it and go with it. And this happened through being part of Inspire Me and running choirs. And bearing in mind, my background before that was doing a classical music degree. So everything was very regimented. It's all about complete perfection. You cannot get a wrong note. And I'd lived in that world for so long. I lived in a world where you couldn't make mistakes. That's really, 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 really tough world to be in. And I remember I was running a choir session and I'd written this vocal arrangement and I was teaching it to a choir. And I just forgot the harmony line. And I was running a session with Andrea, who you know really well as well. And she's a leader in Inspire Me. So at that point, when I just joined the company, I was a new starter and I wanted to make a good impression. And I forgot this harmony line. And after the session, I said, Andrea, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I forgot. I can't believe I made that mistake. And she said, Patrick, you're a human. You're allowed to make mistakes. And from that point, I was like, oh, I'm allowed to make mistakes. And do you know what? It's the most freeing experience to go, I am allowed to make a mistake. And suddenly when you go, I am allowed to make a mistake, you make so many less mistakes. You're not so worried about it all the time.
It's so true.
Yeah. So I've given myself that permission to just kind of go, it's one of those things where if you're speaking in front of someone, like say, for example, you're going into audition and you have this spiel that you're going to say as you walk through the door and suddenly you stumble over it. It's so much better to go, I stumbled over my words there. And what I meant to say was this, rather than realize it and then panic and go, what am I, just to kind of own it and go, I made a mistake there. Let's move on from it. So that's been the most freeing thing as a performer, composer, kind of creative, just to kind of go, you know what? You need to take this a bit less seriously, make mistakes, learn from them, and go from there.
I love that because, oh my gosh, I just made a mistake. It just popped out of my head what I was about to say. But it's okay, because it's fine, isn't it?
Fine, because you're a human, Charlotte.
Exactly.
Humans make mistakes. So.
Well, I honestly didn't do that for comic effect. But I did just remember what I was about to say, that perfectionism can breed, it can paralyze us to the point in which we don't take any action. Yeah. And so when you're allowed to, and give yourself permission to make a mistake, 10 mistakes, 100 mistakes, like you said, as soon as that pressure comes off you, you make way less mistakes. I love that. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Oh, Shell, I've loved this. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this. And it's just lovely to have a little catch up with you as well.
Yeah, you've shared so much wisdom and knowledge, and I love the Sieve technique. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and hopefully there'll be a part 2 very soon.
Yes, let's make it happen.
Yeah, we will see you on part 2 of Patrick Steed, the amazing composer.
I loved having Patrick on the show, and as you could probably tell, we are great friends and work colleagues. So as we got into the conversation, I forgot to tell you guys about Patrick's website, which is patricksteed.co.uk. So if you want to find out more about his composing, his musical endeavours, and obviously more about his Blink musical, head on over to patricksteed.co.uk and it'll give you all the information. I'm also going to put his social media handles in the show notes, so have a look at those as well. Now, if you want more tips and strategies as a performer, head on over to my Facebook page, Michelle Thor Life Coach, because every Sunday at 7 p.m, I do a Facebook Live, especially for you guys. So head on over, like the page, and get involved in the conversation. Now, if you want to know more about me and my products and my coaching, then head on over to michellethole.com. You spell Thole Thole. So you go ahead and enjoy your week. I'll see you next time on another episode of the Performer Podcast. And thank you so much for staying tuned. And how about you hit that subscribe button and share it with everyone you know? So thanks so much. Bye, guys.